Okay, good morning. Welcome to all the schools attending today. So this is the second of the CSI Litter Challenge webinars. Hopefully you've had a chance to watch the first one, which is available on our MCS YouTube channel. As you'll know, I'm Jenny, Education Officer for the Marine Conservation Society. So just to start with, we'll just go through how the webinar is going to work today. A bit like the other one, we're going to have some bits that you'll be able to listen to. There'll be other bits for you to watch, and there'll be opportunities for you to have a chat in your classes as well. So you're also going to need your thumbs up and thumbs down cards that you used for the last session. And without further ado, we'll get started. Okay, so the first question, do these items that you can see on the screen now, do they have any value? Are they worth anything, or are they just simply rubbish that's been thrown away into the wrong place? So teachers, if you could have a quick chat in your class for about 5 minutes with your group, decide whether or not any of these items have any value, and we'll come back to these later on. Don't worry about adding any answers or anything like that for now. We'll meet back here in 5 minutes' time. Fantastic. Okay, so the secret life of recycled plastic. What happens to plastic when it's recycled? Let's have a little look at this short animation and see what happens to it.
Have you ever wondered what happens to plastics after they're recycled? They're reborn. Your empty shampoo bottle could become a stylish plastic chair. And once they're empty, your fruit punnet and butter tub could transform into an amazing new kitchen table and some cooking utensils. Once you've finished your milk, get ready for blast off, as the bottle can be transformed into a space rocket. And let go of what you've finished with. Recycle it and let it become a new car bumper. It gets better. When you drunk your juice, the bottle can be reborn as your team's football shirt. What a great result! Recycle all your plastic bottles, pots, tubs and trays and give them a chance to be reborn. So share this video now to show your place to recycle more of your plastics.
Okay, fantastic. So, as you know, many types of plastic can be recycled and then reborn or remade into new items. I expect there's probably recycling bins at your school, and most of you probably recycle at home as well. So most plastic items can be recycled, not all of them, but most of them. So have a think, what other materials can be recycled and reborn? What other things are you able to put into your recycling bin at home or maybe at school, or in certain areas we even have recycling bins in the street? Have a little think about that for a moment. Okay, so let's revisit that question again. This litter, what is it actually worth? Does it actually have any value? Which of these items, for example, couldn't be recycled and belongs in what I would call a regular bin, a normal bin? So which of those items do you think couldn't be recycled? Let's have a look at them for a moment. So we've got a can, we've got a food can, we've got a drinks can, we've got a water bottle, and we've got a plastic bucket there. We've also got a cigarette. Where do you think got it? It's right, the cigarette doesn't get recycled, does it? We can't recycle cigarette butts. In actual fact, if you've watched the first webinar, you'll see that one of our schools found that cigarette butts are one of the most frequent things they find being littered. But a lot of the items, again, that we find being littered actually can be recycled. In fact, much of the litter that we find on our beaches is actually something that can be recycled and made into new items, or reborn, as we heard in that animation. And because of this, it's valuable, and it should never be thrown away. It can be made into something new, so it's useful to us. And it certainly, as we know, should never be littered, should it? So what do we need to do to reduce litter? So in your groups, I'd like you to brainstorm ideas for how litter could be prevented. So there's a few things for you to think about. So think about why litter occurs. Think about how rubbish actually becomes litter. Because rubbish doesn't need to become litter, does it? There's a step there that causes it to become litter. Think about why people drop litter. Why is it that they do that? You might think about the role of reduce, reuse and recycle. I'm sure you've heard of those terms before. So reduce meaning that we cut down on the amount of waste we produce. We talked about that in the last webinar. Reusing, when we use something and then we use it a second time. So sometimes people reuse water bottles. Sometimes people would reuse plastic bags, for example. And of course recycling, as we've just seen in the animation, that's when we make something into something else. So we might also think about awareness raising. That's when we make more people know about something. We publicise it and we inform people. You might also think about local authority responsibility. Now that's quite a complicated term for some of us. And that just means the responsibility that our local councils, for example, should take for the littering issue. So let's have a look at that picture for a moment. You can see there's a bin and you can see heaps of rubbish around the bin, can't you? So actually even though there's a bin there, people have tried to do the right thing, but actually there's still litter there. So if you have a think, if the wind blew really strongly, it's been quite windy here recently, and if the wind blew really, really strongly, then that litter that's around that bin could quite easily blow away. And if you think about what we learned in the last webinar again, we found that we're all connected, aren't we? That litter from inland can reach the rivers, streams, drains, and then out into the ocean. So as soon as that rubbish is picked up by the wind, then that's going to have an impact as well. So let me think about who's responsible for emptying those bins, for example. So I'd like you to spend about 10 minutes having a chat about this in your group, and then come back and we'll carry on. Okay, so hopefully you've had a chance to have a chat about that in your group. So hopefully you've also thought about who is responsible for all these things. See, we need to make sure that people know about what they do with the waste. We need to raise awareness. We need to let people know what the right thing is. We can't expect people to do the right thing unless they know what that thing is, can we? We need people to know where the recycling facilities are. We need to provide those facilities. So I guess that's what I was talking about when I was talking about local authority. There need to be options for people to be able to recycle. We need people to know what the impact of their litter is as well, because if you don't know that it's a bad thing, you don't know what the problem is, then you're going to be less likely to do the right thing, aren't you? I guess that's part of why your teachers have chosen to do this project with you. So I think part of the answer is possibly that if we all reduce the amount of waste that we create, then there's less rubbish to become litter. And it's better for the environment as we use less resources to recycle than we do to create new items. So local authorities have a responsibility to provide facilities to homes, to businesses like your school, to communities, so that items can be disposed of correctly, and the public, that's you and I, have a responsibility to then make use of the facilities. So it's not just about us as individuals, as people, it's about a joint effort that can combine together that can address this issue. I think that's the most important thing. Okay, so thinking about everything that you've learned about litter so far, I would like to introduce you to the actual litter challenge. So what is CSI Litter all about? Well, what you're going to do is design and test out a creative anti-littering campaign in your school. And I emphasise the word creative there because we want something that's really, really new and different. So you're going to design it and then you're going to test it out in your school. Okay, we're asking for you to come up with something a little bit different. So you might design and trial one campaign as a class or a group, or you might work in smaller groups to come up with ideas and then vote on one to test out as a school. So it depends on how your teacher wants you to work, or even you might be asked how you want to work as well. The important thing is that you will send us one campaign per school. So each campaign should include a digital element. So what I mean by that is something like an image, a video, an animation, something that you create digitally and then you can send to us and we can use to share and promote your campaign, if you're the winner. Okay, you're going to then, after you've run your campaign and tested it in your school, you'll submit a summary of your campaign idea to us. Then, out of all the campaign ideas that we've had from the schools taking part, we're going to choose two winners. One will be from the primary age range and one will be from the secondary age range. So each winning school from each of those categories could win £250 towards a green project at their school. So by a green project, I mean something that will help the environment. Or even maybe something that will help you guys to learn more about the environment. It might be a project that you already thought about. It might be to do with recycling. I don't know. It's your idea, but that's what you would spend the money on if you win. So out of those two winners, we'll also choose an overall winner. So that's the winner of the entire project. And that project will be one that we work with, MCS and our friends at the plastics industry. We'll work with you guys and we'll promote your project, upscale it and promote it nationwide. So that's all the way across the UK. So not only could you win £250 towards your school project, but you could also become really famous and make a difference across the UK. Pretty cool, huh? So the focus of the campaign, obviously, I hope, is to reduce littering in your local area, so in your school and maybe even in your local community. So it might focus on a particular problem, for example, that you found when you did your litter survey. The winning campaign, as I said, will be creative, it will be original, but the important thing is it must also be realistic. If it involves Hollywood superstars, it would be pretty cool. But unfortunately, we're a charity. We're not going to be able to make that happen. So we need something that's going to be realistic for us to be able to promote and to share with others. And that's why, really, we want to have some shareable content from you, some digital content, because we'll use that as part of the campaign. Remember, we haven't got millions of pounds to spend. Wish we had, but we haven't. So we'll likely make use of social media to help promote your project, and we could host the content online. But campaigns that involve lots of big promotional events or printing loads of flyers to hand out, they probably wouldn't work so well for what we're looking for. So those are just a few tips that could help you. Okay, so let's have a look at a few creative campaigns. Let's have a look at some examples of these. The first one I've got for you is a campaign called Neat Streets. So we'll just have a watch of the clip and then we'll have a think about what they've done, how they've done it, who they're trying to appeal to, what their audience is. So let me just press play.
We are looking at new ways to tackle littering behaviour. Engage people in an issue in a way that is positive, fun, and encourages people to look after the streets that they live and work on. Villiers Street is a real melting pot. It's made up of lots of commuters, tourists. There is quite a vibrant night economy. Over 6 months, we've got a range of different installations and competitions running on Villiers Street. My Street is Your Street poster gallery shows the faces that make up people who live and work on Villiers Street. We've also got Talking Bin, which thanks you for depositing your rubbish. We have a flash mob called Message in a Bottle, where we celebrating people who took the initiative to put a piece of litter from the floor into the bin. We've also got Gumdrop, who are an organisation who recycle chewing gum. They have key rings which you can use on the go to put in your chewed gum. They are then collected and can be recycled into lots of products. We have a chew by numbers display where you put your chewed gum on a cross and it fills up a face of a character who is from the area. Hubbub is an environmental charity who's looking at fresh, new, creative ways of communicating different environmental issues. Give people a reason to take care of the place they're in and help them understand the environment that they're in. Litter doesn't have to be boring, it can be fun and interesting, and that's what we're trying to do. Villiers Street is just one street in a massive city. We hope that this is going to be a model that can be replicated, and we will share the results of what is successful from this project we want this to be a catalyst for greater change on a bigger scale across the country.
Okay, excellent. So, in your groups with your teacher, I'd like you to have a little think about what the Meet Streets campaign that you've just seen aims to do. So think about, what it's trying to do, how is it trying to do that, most importantly. Think about who the audience is, who is that campaign trying to appeal to? And also, how are they trying to do things differently? How does that campaign differ from some of the other campaigns you might have seen? Okay, so in your group, spend about 5 or 10 minutes having a quick chat about that, and then pop back here. The teachers, you'll want to press pause now, and then pop back here in a few moments' time, and we'll have a think about that together. Okay, excellent. So hopefully you've had a good chance to have a chat with your groups. Let's have a little think about what they're trying to do. So if you think about it, that street there in Westminster, what they were trying to do was they were trying to reduce litter on a particularly busy street where litter is a really, really big problem. So they've seen an issue, they've seen a problem, and they're trying to target their campaign specifically to that problem in that area, in that street. Well, how are they trying to do that? Well, they're trying to connect the local people, the people that use that street, day in, day out, or maybe just on occasions. They're trying to connect those people to that particular environment, to that street, so that they care. So that the people that use it, even if they don't live there, they might be just passing through that street to get to the tube or to get to their workplace. But they're trying to make every single person that uses that street care about that street in the same way that you might care about the street that you live on. So they're basically trying to connect a community and make them feel part of not only the problem, but most importantly, the solution as well. So it's all very well talking about problems, but that doesn't necessarily get us anywhere. It can feel a bit, with the world's a bad place. But actually, if we start to see the problem, then we can do something really, really active and be part of the solution. And that's what I'm hoping you guys will all be as part of this project. So the audience, we've kind of touched on that just then. So they might well be people that live there. They might use that street every day. They might live there. They might work there. Or as I said, they might literally just pass through that street. But they're trying to appeal to everybody who are users of that particular area, get everybody invested in it. So what was the innovation on that clip? Well, I don't know about you, but I've never seen a talking bin, a bin that burps at you when you put a bit of rubbish in. It's a bit rude, it's a bit different, isn't it? But it's also quite engaging. It makes people take notice. Oh, that doesn't happen all the time. And as soon as something's different to the norm, to what's normal, then that starts to make people take notice and listen and think more as well. So they had the talking bins. They had the posters, but they weren't just regular posters, were they? They were posters showing local people, telling everybody that walked past that this is my street, this is where I live, this is my home, and I care about it. And that kind of makes you feel something when you walk past. It sort of triggers an emotion within you, or it certainly would do for me, and I think that's probably the same for most people. So they also, what else did they have? They had a flash mob, didn't they, where they all started when someone put something in a bin. Well, when someone picked up somebody else's litter, even more important, and put it in a bin. I'm sure lots of you probably do that at school. You see something and you pick it up and you put it into a bin for somebody else. What else did they have? They had the chewing gum, didn't they? Obviously they found chewing gum. Do you remember the circles? They drew circles around all pieces of chewing gum to highlight it. Because probably most of the people that drop their gum on that street think, oh, it's only one bit of gum. It's only a tiny, tiny piece of gum. It doesn't make much difference. But actually, when you saw them all circled, it made a big difference, didn't it? And so, to target that, they had the little recycling pots that people could carry around with them, and then that meant that the chewing gum went in there instead. And better still, that then got recycled at the end and made into new things. Pretty cool, huh? Okay, so those are all particular issues in that particular area. So when you're thinking about your campaign, hope that you'll be able to go back to your litter survey, what you found out from that, your problem. That's what I'm saying, your problem in your area. So hopefully chewing gum isn't a big problem in your school. Hopefully litter on the whole isn't, but I'm sure it is to a certain extent. I'm sure that it might well be, it might well be beyond your school gates in your local area. what we're trying to do is to encourage people not to just not litter at school, but not litter when they go out of school as well. Not litter in the local park. Not litter when they're driving along in their cars. Let somebody drive along a busy road. I want you to do something. Have a look out the window. Because on lots and lots of the busy roads that I drive along, I see loads of litter in the verge, in the edge of the road. And that's because people on busy roads, for some reason, think, it's okay, I'll throw it out of my window. No, lots of those people might not throw it out of their window if they were in the middle of a street. They might not throw it out of their window in a different situation. Sometimes people think it's okay to litter in certain places. We know that it's not though, don't we? Okay. Okay. So, get to the white screen, there we go. Okay, so I want to show you or share with you an example of one of our MCS, Marine Conservation Society campaigns. This is a current campaign that we've got running, and we're aiming to raise awareness and teach people not to flush wet wipes, as well as to get people to help us by signing a petition. So there's two parts to this campaign. We want to raise awareness, like we were talking about earlier, tell people how to do the right thing, show people even how to do the right thing, but we also want people to help us sign a petition. I don't know whether you know what a petition is, so I'll just explain that for a second. Petitions where we get signatures of all people that agree with something, and then we use that to try and persuade, in this case we're going to try and persuade manufacturers, the people that make the wet wipes, to label their wet wipes as unflushable. So that means that they can't be flushed down the toilet. Because actually no wet wipes at all are flushable, and sometimes on the back of the packet they actually say that they can be flushed. We want to change that. So this wet wipe campaign, Wet Wipes Turn Nasty When You Flush Them, gives you a pretty clear idea of what it's all about, doesn't it? Has got two core purposes for it. So while we're talking about it, just use this as an opportunity to explain that to you as well. Did you know that in fact you should only flush the 3 P's? Pee, poo and paper. That's not many times you get to say that on film, right? So if you only flush those 3 things, that means that your pipes won't get blocked. And when your pipes get blocked, what has to happen is that they release into your streams, your rivers, the sea, and then ultimately that's all waste that's going into our sea. Or alternatively, they could block up and it could flood your home. Neither thing we particularly want to happen. Okay, let's move on. Let's have a look at this website. I'm just going to lean over so I can take us to the full website. Okay, and here it is. Let me just make this nice and big, if I can. That'll do it for me. Okay, so we'll just have a little look through. I just need to lean through for this bit, so apologies if I go out of view. So we have got, as I said, here's our wet wipe monsters in the beginning just here. And we'll have a scroll down. We can see that there's a link just there to the petition. So we've had these wet wipe monsters designed. We have a little bit of writing. And I'll just read that. I'm sure you can read that yourself. But it's the way that it's phrased is to kind of catch people's attention. So wet wipes might be nice on your face or your bum, but flush them and things get ugly. So it's to try and catch people's attention. Again, a bit like me just saying poo on film. It's not normal that you talk about things like that on in public, is it? Here's another one of our wet wipe monsters. There's lots of information on here, but it's written in a way that is designed to be easily understood. So if you want to go onto this website, we'll put up the URL on the recording for you. If you want to go on and have a look, you will be able to understand it. So it's designed to appeal to absolutely everybody and to be easy to be understood. You get the idea. So I'm just going to press play on here, and yeah, then we'll chat about this in a moment. Okay. Just get rid of that for a moment. So, as you saw, not only do we have the little graphic monsters that you can see on the screen now, we've also got a giant kind of inflatable wet wipe monster. I hope you can see the size of that. That's absolutely enormous. And we took him, he's called Wallace. We took him out and about on the beach, and you can see the video that we used, that we created from taking him out on the beach. And we can take him to events. So you probably thought, that would be pretty attention grabbing, wouldn't it? If you were walking along the beach, you'd kind of notice Wallace rising up and being absolutely enormous. Gets people's attention, right? And that's what it's all about. So, as I said, the audience for this this campaign is the public as well as manufacturers. And the campaign includes, like you can see, the microsites. That's a mini website that sits on our whole website, so you can go and view that as well. I think I've already said we'll put the URL up for that. It includes the video, and the video is really important. It's a really core part of the campaign. Bits of information in amongst it you could see popping up on the screen, but it was the video that I think probably really grabbed people and as I said, caught their attention. So this video is on YouTube, so it can be shared with people on their social media. You probably, and most of you are a little bit young for social media. Some of you might be very into it. If you're in secondary school, you probably are quite involved in social media by now. And there's probably some sites that you use in primary school. But yeah, on YouTube, you've all been on YouTube, who am I pretending? But on YouTube, you probably, you're able to share it, right? So they can post it on their social media, and then that goes far and wide from beyond there. And that's really important these days, because that doesn't cost us money to put that on YouTube. It doesn't cost us money if people like your parents and yourselves even go on there and they share it. And so that means that our campaigns, or anyone's campaigns, can get noticed by far more people than they would have done in the past. Giving a leaflet out goes to one person or one family, right? Whereas if you share this, it can go to a whole group of people at the same time. That's why we want shareable content from you guys. Because shareable content created by children, it's just a winner. Okay, so we've also run a Wet Wipe Monster naming comp, and the names of these guys haven't been announced just yet, but the 3 Wet Wipe Monsters you see on the screen at the moment are just about to get new names. And the idea of doing that was to kind of get children involved. It's a bit of a yucky campaign. Children really don't tend to buy wet wipes. They might flush them if they didn't know what to do, but it was a way of engaging and connecting with children on a campaign that's a little bit yuck. So hopefully we've got a few of them involved by the work that we've done at events. When we go to events and we see people face to face, rather than like I am now, where I'm kind of remote, we've been promoting the campaign, and that's one way that we've chosen to do it. So I don't know about you guys, but I think probably the most innovative or creative part of that campaign is Wallace the monster himself. Has anyone seen one of those before? I certainly have never come across a Wallace before. So I think it gets really, really noticed on the beach, right? And it will be noticed. It's been noticed on social media, so that's cool. Okay. So that's some examples of some campaigns that I felt were quite innovative and different and unusual. Yours doesn't have to be as big as that, obviously. So how are we going to go about it? What's next for your campaign? So the documents that I'm going to have a look at now, the next couple of pages, these are ones that your teacher has got, which they can copy for you. So these are going to be what you use to come up with your ideas and your plan. So first of all, let's have a quick recap. What's the problem that needs solving? What problem have we been looking at? It's pretty obvious, isn't it? We're looking at litter. We're looking at the issue of litter, the global issue of litter. And so we've identified, haven't we really, that it's humans that cause the problem. It's us. It's the way we behave that causes the issue. We can solve it. We can all take a part in solving it, and we can all take a part in helping other people to solve it, which kind of makes what we're doing bigger and better, doesn't it? So Each campaign that you design must aim to reduce the problem in your local area. That is the aim of your campaign that you're planning. So, what we're looking at now on the screen is the campaign planner. So this is going to help you start thinking about what your campaign will be. So again, as I've mentioned, you might work as a whole class, as a small group, 6 or 8, or you might work individually on this and you might think about a plan for it. But remember that in the end, you can only submit one campaign per school to our competition. So it might be that you get lots of ideas and then you vote on which one's the best. I don't know how you want to do it, but remember we can only take one submission per school. So let's have a little look about at what's on this campaign. So we have the campaign message. So that's what you're trying to tell people, what you're trying to tell your audience and inform your audience about. We've got a summary of your campaign. So this is what you're going to do, who you're targeting, who your audience is, and how you're going to try and influence them. So it's the kind of overview of what you're going to try and do. If we go down the right-hand side there, underneath you can see that there is a what you need to do to make it happen. So once you've got a summary of your campaign, then you need to think about the how that can happen. So we've kind of covered the what and the how. If we look on the left-hand side underneath the campaign message, we've got the digital content. We're going to leave that box for just a moment, okay? And that will make sense in a moment's time. Underneath that, we've got where will you promote your campaign. So are you going to promote it, for example, in school assembly? Are you going to use your weekly newsletter for school that goes out to homes? It would be really cool to see campaigns that weren't just about your class. In fact, they need to be more than that. They need to ideally be more than your school. So if you can take this into your into your homes as well, you can inform your parents. If you can take it into posters, if you can take it onto social media, if you can take it wider than your school is what I'm trying to say, you will have more of an impact. And those are the kind of campaigns that we're really looking for. Stuff that makes a difference wider than just in your direct group. So, for now we have left the digital content part, and there's a reason for that. So let me just have a quick look and see if there's anything else we wanted to cover on this screen. So, one important thing is that you don't need to promote your campaign on social media. I've mentioned it a few times. You could choose to do so if you want. If that's something your school are quite into, you could choose to do so. But you don't have to. That's not a requirement of what you're doing. The requirement is to create the shareable content, the digital content. Okay? If you win, then we'll do the sharing on social media. We're pretty hot on that. So you could promote it in school through your internet, your assembly, your newsletter, any other way that you can think of. The weirder, the more wonderful, the more innovative, the better it is. Okay, let's move on, and we'll see now why I said to leave that box about the digital shareable content. So let's have a think about that now. So it's the shareable and digital content that will make your project innovative. It will make it stand out from the others. So that little video that we made, that went out on social media, that got the campaign notice, and that then got us the sign-ups to the petition that we were looking for. We then used those sign-ups to get manufacturers to change their packaging. And you know what? We succeeded. We have got what we call buy-in, agreement, I should use the right term. We've got agreement from lots of the manufacturers to actually make those changes on their packaging moving forward. Brilliant result, right? Part of that is being able to post things on social media. So it will make it stand out from your campaign, stand out from the others. It will make your campaign different to other schools that are entering the competition. But before it can be innovative, it has to have creative ideas. Can't be innovative without a good idea, creative, unusual idea to start with. So the idea of this document, creating innovative digital content, this is in your school's pack as well, is to help you do just that, help you work through that process. I'm sure you've done similar things to this, maybe in design and technology sessions, maybe even in computing. You've probably even done similar things when you're coming up with stories, when you're writing in English. It's not an unusual process, but let's have a look at it for a moment. So, this includes some tips at the top, okay? So some of it I just said. Let's start with point 1 then. So as a group or class, you're going to think, first of all, about any software or any apps that you have already used to make digital content in the past. That's tricky to say, to make digital content in the past. So these might be things that you've used at school, they might be things that you've used at home, but that's a good starting place because it would be hard work to learn to use a whole new software for this project. There's plenty more that you could be doing. So think about any of these. Could they be used in your campaign? Or maybe there's a new app that you've seen that you think is relatively straightforward and you'd like to use that. So remember, when I talk about the digital content, the shareable digital content, I'm talking about anything that you create that's digital that we could then share. So it might be an image, it might be a video clip, it could be an animation, or it could be a completely new idea. You've probably got a far better idea. Young people usually have way better ideas than I have, but it needs to be something that's created digitally that we can then share. Simple, right? So, step one, start with what you already know, softwares you already know or you would already like to use. Point two, you're going to brainstorm ideas for the type of digital content that you can make. And you're going to include everybody's ideas in that process. And then once you've got everyone's ideas down, then you're going to go back to each idea and decide which ones are the most original, achievable, that's important, and creative. So they need to be original, achievable, and creative. And if they are, you're going to leave those ideas on your brainstorm. Then you're going to think back to the campaign planner that you just looked at and think, okay, so which of those ideas best fit the overall campaign plan that you have? Can you see why I left this box on the campaign planner? This step is really important. They fit together with one another. So you're going to select then your top 3 ideas. The 3 ideas that you think, yeah, they're the best, they're the most original, they're the most achievable, and they are the most creative. And then, individually or as a group, you're going to begin to think and map out the content. So once you start to map out the content and the ideas, I find a storyboard is useful. Now your teachers might have another idea for how to plan this and you might have a better idea. This is just one solution that works for me, so I thought I'd share it. You are probably very familiar with creating storyboards. We've all used them before. So as you can see there on the screen, you've got a storyboard where you've got a sketch at the top, so that's going to be what would be actually happening, and then you've got an opportunity to explain it in text, or you might even use the words that are going to pop up on the screen if it's an animation. It would depend on what you choose to make, so I can't really elaborate or go into too much detail about that. But that's a good way of mapping out your ideas, because before you start to create, you need to have a plan. You need to know what you're doing and where you're heading. So remember, when you're doing this, that you need to think about the problem and who or what causes the problem. Keep those things in your mind all the time. It's really, really important, because you want to make sure that the content you plan matches your audience and is going to do what you want it to do. We call that fit for purpose. Does it fit? Does it do what we wanted it to do? Okay, once you've done all of those things, if you've done them individually or as groups rather than a whole class, then you're going to choose your top idea. So you might present them however you want to share those ideas, and then you're going to pick your top idea. Then, once you've picked your top idea, you're then going to revisit it, revise it, and then go into more depth of developing the content that you're going to use. So, sounds quite complicated, but actually it's a process that you probably go through, as I mentioned, in other work areas. So, your teacher's got more information in their teacher's pack, and of course you can ask us any questions that you like while you're working on the project. I am always available. The teacher has my contact details. You can always email me, and of course there is also a webinar that you can come to next week on Wednesday if you start to think about this and you've got some questions, if you want to run your ideas past me. But remember, if you run your ideas past me over a webinar, other schools might hear your idea. So it might be that you're better off to email me, but I'm always here. That's the idea. Okay. So once you've designed and tested your idea in school, then you're going to send us a summary of that campaign. So your teachers will help you to complete the summary. That sheet is available in your teacher's pack. Our email address, don't forget, is education@ncsuk.org. That address you already have as well, and I'm sure you've been using. I am on the end of that email. It will be me that answers you. You have until the 3rd of April to submit your campaign summary, so you don't have a huge amount of time to test it out. It's like a mini test. We call it a pilot, a test phase, to see how things go. Yeah, to complete that summary sheet, send that in to us. You have until the 3rd of April, and that's because of the different dates of different schools going on holiday for Easter. We are running this project UK-wide. So, as I've mentioned, we've got an optional Q&A session on next Wednesday, the 15th of March. You don't need to join us, but feel free to. If you want to join, don't forget to register teachers, because otherwise I won't know you're coming and you won't know where to have to link in and join. So your teachers will work with you to complete that campaign summary. So one last thing before we finish up. Just want to say, we did a true or false at the end of the last webinar as well, didn't we? So it's something that I'd like to have a go at doing again, if that's okay. This is for, just to let teachers know, this is part of our evaluation. It's really, really important. So it would be great, in fact it would be really, really, really necessary if you could send me through the answers to these questions from your group. So how many people say true and false to each of these questions? That would be fantastic. I will send around later on today a sheet so that you can fill in to answer these with the questions on it, if that makes it easier for you. So I think it's probably easier if I just read through each question and then you answer them all at the end, just going 1 to 10, if that makes sense. I did it a bit differently in the last recording, but I think we'll do it that way for today. So, to answer these guys, you're going to use your thumbs up cards, and you are going to give us a thumbs up if you agree, and you're going to give us a thumbs down if you disagree. There, I think there's between 8 and 10. I can't see them all. I've got about 3 screens open. I can't see them all at the same time. But I think it's probably about 8 of them. Some of these relate to webinar 1, so you might have to put your thinking caps on. Some of them are all about what we saw in this webinar. Okay, let's get on with it. So remember, thumbs up for yes, I agree, it's true, and thumbs down for no, I don't agree, it's false. Okay, number 1, the ocean provides oxygen, food, and medicines. Okay, number 2, if we live inland, we have no connection to the ocean. Nothing to do with us, we live inland, we're not near it. Number 3, if I don't drop litter, well, there's nothing much I can do to help prevent it. What do you reckon? Is that true? I don't drop it, so there's nothing else I can do. Number 4, litter is worthless. It's just quite simply rubbish that is in the wrong place. I wonder, is that true or false? Plastic should be thrown away in a rubbish bin. Quite simple, we should just chuck plastic in the rubbish bin. Number 6, recycling waste is better for the environment than throwing it away. True or false? Number 7, reducing and reusing the resources we already have reduces our impact on the environment. There's lots of reduces in that sentence, isn't there? So, is that true or false? Does reducing and reusing the resources we already have reduce our impact on the environment? And number 8, the ocean is vital to life on Earth. Sorry, I was 1 step behind there, wasn't I? The ocean is vital to life on Earth. Is that true or is that false? Okay. Teachers, if you press pause now and you get your answers gathered together, it would be great if you could email those across to me at education@ncsuk.org. I will also send a summary sheet just to remind you so that I definitely get that feedback, because that feedback is really, really important to us so that we can evaluate what we've done and the project in all. So, with no further ado, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you've learned more about the problem of litter, but most importantly, I hope you are now all geared up and motivated to get out there, design a really, really cool project, get your campaign happening in schools, send us it in, and win 250 credits. Who knows, you might do so. Okay, I'm really looking forward to seeing those campaigns. We're going to have a panel of experts choosing the winners for that campaign. It will not just be me, I will be there, but we will have pollution experts, we'll have people from plastics industry as well. We will choose those winning campaigns, and of course we'll let you know. So, have fun, and don't forget, together we can really make a difference. Take care, guys.